and welcome to the Jules and JJ show. My name is Julian Valance, joined by James Jordan. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while, but it's exciting new show. Obviously, same. You call it talent. I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
but, same couple of guys talking at you, but it's a bit of a different feel this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got plenty of segments to get through, so we're going to start the process by going through track intel, how we think these two tracks are going to play. We'll start with South Australia, Murray Bridge. Now, I heard on the grapevine there was supposed to be 30 mils today. Is it going to hit?
Well, as we filmed this, I think they've got 1 mil.
Okay,
so I think
we've got 29 to go.
It was 95% chance of up to 30 mils.
Yep.
So what does that
What are we
actually
playing
mean?
on?
I think we've got about 1 mil so far. I thought it would be probably a 7, maybe even an 8. Having seen that lack of rainfall so far today, which is when the bulk of it was supposed to hit, I'm thinking it'll probably be more like a 5 to a 6, something in that range. The intel is actually really important at Murray Bridge.
Yeah.
It's, for those that haven't been there, it's a very big open track. It's exposed. There's no trees around it to shelter wind. So wind is the predominant factor there. And that's certainly something I look at when I'm trying to work out how these races are going to be run and won. The good thing about Saturday is it's a light wind forecast. I think it's a 12 kilometre an hour westerly, which it's a headwind in the chute, but it's only minor. So I think that the key attributes here will be the inside generally off. I think that'll be the case again. So inside gates, particularly in the chute, no advantage. And maybe a little bit of cover is a slight advantage in the 1200 metre races and below. But I think predominantly, I'd say the inside gates, no advantage.
As the day goes on, will they come out to the centre of the track, do you think?
Well, I reckon they'll almost start edging off as of race one.
Starting point.
And if it is wetter, the inside takes longer to dry there typically. So if they do get a bit more rain than what they've got already, it'll even exacerbate that a bit more.
Okay, that's the Murray Bridge track intel. Caulfield's copped a bit of heat probably in the last 6 weeks because they've had a few meetings and the rail has just been gonzo. So 29th of June out 12 metres, 1st of June out 9 metres, and you go back to the 11th of May when we're back in the true. So now we're back in the true for this meeting here. Had a bit of time to recuperate. Soft 7 at the moment. It's bordering on it's going to be soft or heavy, I think. So look, no rain tonight, Thursday, but Friday up to 5 mils. And the key factor here is Saturday, if you get 3 to 4 mils during race day, as you know, it actually impacts. So I'd be playing on soft to heavy. I don't think it's going to be on a nice soft at any stage. I think even if we get not really any rain, I still think the winter months here in Melbourne are wet enough. It's just not going to drain enough.
Is there any wind to...
There's none. No. And Caulfield's the most impactful in terms of wind in Victoria. We know that if that northerly hits the chute, you just can't leave 1,000 to 1,200. So intel for the chute, pretty even for how we set up. Look, we know Beck Marcus is a low percentage play, but that really is evident here at Caulfield. And then the circle, really even again. So you can win worse than midfield, but leaders, high percentage play. Compare that to, say, the chute where there's not such a high percentage play. When we get around the circle, probably not bad a disadvantage to be in the lead. And I think it's really important too, just to understand, you've got to have a starting point when you're doing like your tracks. If you like a horse in race 1 or 2, you've got to be able to have the idea that, hey, this is how I think this track's going to play. You might get it wrong. You have to obviously be agile throughout. But that's why we're trying to provide for the punters here and the viewers, is that you've got to have a starting point of where we think how the track's going to play.
And often when you're looking at a horse, I mean, they've all got rating bands that they could do. Well, they might be able to do it, 97 or a 90, and you're trying to work out which one they're going to do. If you know one's a leader and it's going to be really hard to lead, you're looking at the bottom end of their pretty good rating. So that's where it is really important. They don't always run the same figure. You're trying to work out where in their band they're going to land on the day, and pattern is a huge factor of that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, mate, where are we starting? Murray Bridge, we've spoken about the intel. Where do we want to start? Race 4 is where you want to kick off?
Yeah, there's sort of a few horses here that are almost along the same lines. And before I touch on them, we're talking about distance ranges and horses that maybe can or can't get a distance. I've got a bit of a theory. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
This will be good.
200 metre increments, obviously. I don't think they're that important when you get up to sort of 14 to 16. For example, if you can run 1,400, I reckon you can run a mile. If you can run a mile, you can run 1,800. If you can run 1,800, you can run 2,000. If you can run 1,000, you often can't run 1,200.
That's a really
I think it's a really important point, and I want to make that point because a couple of these horses we're looking at, that's part of it. They're either dropping back in trip from the 1,200, and the first one of them is in race number 4. It's horse number 8, Together Forever.
Before you get to there, your point's really good because also the fact is Fleetwood last week was 1,000. It was, 6 to 4 into about $1.80. misses the start by 5, then goes to 1,200, market spattered out, which you wouldn't never see. It was $3.50 out to $8. It just shows market agrees 100% with what you're saying. 1,000 to 1,200 is a victim. Let's get to the market. That's what I want to start with. All Events your favourite, $2.80. Together Forever, rock solid at $5. Clock Strikes the same price. Pretty Tavi $6.50. Babaker at $9 and Batitsi and Lunar Solar around $11. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start pointing end or where are we going?
Oh, I'm with Together Forever. It's not the favourite. All Event obviously favourite in this market. And look, its win last start, first go for the new camp was good. It was on the synthetic. Synthetic going to a wet track, even though it has been on turf before, I'm always a little bit sort of hesitant, and I reckon it's absolute rock bottom where it sits at the moment. So I think that's a good starting point for wanting to have a bet in the race. Horse I like is Together Forever. It went to Ballarat. Michael Hickmott took a team over 2 months ago. I reckon he got 3 winners. This was one of them. Now, its next start was at Caulfield. It was fair. It probably got out the back and worked home okay. Sectionals were okay, but it wasn't really ever in the race. Then took it back to Morphettville, went to 1,200. Now, it did pull up within a regular heartbeat, but I think the 1,200 was just not in its wheelhouse. It's had
half brother to you, is it?
Exactly. 63 days off, it drops back to the 1,000. I think it's a really good setup in this race. There's a bit of speed as well. All Events, one of those horses that will go forward. And as much as, carrying weights over distance is harder than sprint trips, I reckon when you've got 7 kilo swing on a sort of shifting, yielding track and they're side by side, it's a huge factor. And that's what we've got here. Together Forever will carry 53.5. Rochelle Mills takes half a kilo off the minimum. All Events got the 61. So it's a fair weight swing.
Absolutely.
I think if Together Forever's close enough turning, it'll be really hard to beat. I think its price at the moment around that sort of 4-1 is fair. I think it's the first of the selections.
And that's a really interesting point too you mentioned about the claim. We know this time of the year, wet tracks, it's a huge edge, especially from market perspective. Some of the biggest guys that are professionals in the game, they love the claim under the min or those claiming. And you see apprentices go through the roof these 3 months, May, June, July, even into August on wet tracks. They have their time where they fill up. So
and especially
it's a good point.
The shape of that market too, you've got All Event, Together Forever, Clock Strikes, Pretty Tavi, the top 4 in the market. 57, 59, 61, 53.5 kilos. It's
huge advantage.
A huge swing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to race 6. There's a good push there for that horse in race 4 from JJ. Let's get to race 6. It's a short price favourite here. It's Favourite Child. Sitting around even money. Then you've got River Plate next in the market, Soaring Eagle around the 750 mark, out of Compton, similar sort of price. Bonnie Gangster and Unfair Dismissal for the Noonan boys. We love the Noonan boys, they're doing a great job. It's at an each way price. I think you might be right at the pointy end here.
I am, and it's disappointing because it was 260 yesterday. I looked this morning, it's into 210. So there's been good money for it, but this is the typical box ticker. Obviously, sort of wet, shifty track. Whether it's a heavy 8 or a soft 6, it's going to be shifty and it's going to be hard going for some of these horses. Favourite Child backs up, which is a big tick on a wet track. It carries 55.5 kilos after the claim. You've got an informed trainer, informed jockey riding it. It settles forward, which is another big plus. The thing I like about this horse and its profile is it's been running sort of middle distance, 1,500, 1,600, those sort of trips. It can cop a fast tempo. It can either make the tempo and lead, or it can take a sit as it did last start. But its sectionals late on strong tempos are phenomenal. This horse has obviously got really good aerobic capacity. It'll get to 2,000 if they want to go that way. But at the moment, setting up on speed of these fast run miles and just pulling away at the end, it's a great recipe. I don't think it'll drift much. I think it'll probably start black figures.
Doesn't start with the one in front?
No, I think it'll start probably black figures, but it'll be 210, 215, something like that. River Plate's the obvious danger, but it's got a big weight again, 61. So it's sort of 5.5 kilos between them, and Out of Compton's the other half chance. But really, it'll go forward. I don't think it'll lead. I think it'll settle in the first 2 or 3 if it does lead. It's no disadvantage, but it'll be very, very hard to beat.
All right, very good. Let's get to your last selection. Get to race 9, and this looks a really hot race. Hajarah and Riche de Moray, not much between them in the market. Lingani's next in the price. Then there's this, I think, just the massive hole in the market, just a horse that just can't seem to get out of its own way. A Samurai Mind. We're going to talk about this horse at some stage. Karlasek in single figures, then you get out to Xanthron and Fun Forever. But these top 2 in the market in particular, they look some nice horses, and I'm not being discouraging to a Samurai Mind. Obviously, 1100's probably been a little bit too... Mate, I went over there for the SA Derby and fair dinkum. He just finished last night, so he's on the quick backup from last night to Saturday. How has he actually prepped up? Let's just ask about him first.
Get the fun out of the way first. He came back after the Derby, had 4 weeks at home. He had a big abscess burst out, which I reckon he was carrying. So he pulled his head off in the Derby and beat one home, beaten a long way. First horse beaten, didn't settle, had a kind of noseband on, didn't work. That's come off, got the crossover on. Look, this is not his race. He's got 61 and a half over 1100. He's got a race in 2 weeks' time that we're targeting. So this will just be not a barrier trial, but it'll be a nice hit out to get to that race. I'm not expecting him to win, but if they go too quick, I think he's a horse I'd take out of the race if I could pick one.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's his race on Saturday.
Long prep, this one, or just 2 or 3 runs?
4 runs, I reckon.
Yeah.
He'll have this one, he'll have one in 2 weeks, probably have a little freshen up, have another one, little freshen up, one more, get us to mid-October. Then I'm going to give him the back end of spring at home to have 2 months off and turn from a boy into a man.
Eat on the clover.
Correct.
Sounds like not today, not this Saturday, but next start, possibly at 1,600 metres, punters. All right, what are we tipping?
I like Hazra in this race.
Yep.
It is a good race. You bang on. There's a couple of horses here that come out of really high-ranking races. I think Hazra, again, talking about that drop back for those horses that get to 1,200 and maybe don't quite get it. This horse was at 1,200 last start. I thought it half peaked at the 100-metre mark. Drops back to 1,100. It's only 100 metres, but it's had 4 weeks between runs. Perfect map for it. It's drawn sort of middle of the road, drawn 12. It'll be midfield cover, good speed, peeling to the middle of the track, which I think will be the pattern.
Yep.
It's got a really good turn of foot as well. So Hazra is the one I think is hardest to beat in this race. It's the one I've had something on. I think it's the selection in this race, but it is a ripping race. Reach to Moore's a horse I'm keen to see again. Was dominant on debut.
We'll get to that horse actually soon in Pin the Tail, where we'll have a crack at what we think the predicted SP will be of that horse. This is JJ's SA set. Just run through them quickly again.
I think race 4 is the first of them, Together Forever. For reasons mentioned, I think it finds a good spot up on speed and with the claim and the weight pool, it's going to be hard to beat. Race 7, I think it's race 6, sorry,
Race 6.
Is the other one. It's a really good race for favourite child.
Yep.
On speed, lightweight, racing really well. It looks like probably the standout bet on the card. And in race number 9, I think Hazra maps really well in what should be a strong race.
That's the set there.
All right, it's time to switch our attention to Caulfield. You've had a good look at the card. I reckon you've got 3 that you want to point out off the bat. We're going to start with race number 4. Have a look at the market here. Rezone's going to be a favourite about that 2-1 quote. There's a few behind that, Boga Legend, Methusalem, and then getting out towards double figures for the rest. Have you found one here that you can tip us into?
Yeah, this is a race that usually I just hate. These 3-year-olds that aren't probably
I'm glad you're
much good. And this is the point where I'm sort of really emphasising to the punters out there that I think this is why it's a great race to play into, because it's got a long tail, a really long tail where there's a lot of horses that just can't win. So this is an opportunity this time of the year, horses getting to Metro worth 130, 140,000. It's their last time they'll be 3. And a lot of the owners and the trainers go, this is the last chance we're ever going to get the chance to run in a Metro race worth that kind of money. So that's why I think it's a long tail. Red Zone's a maiden, so it's had 4 goes, hasn't been able to win, but it hasn't been far away. It's been a horse I haven't really wanted to be with throughout the prep. Last start, 3rd to Aztec State at Flemington, was a really good rating race, and it finally told me that this horse actually got some ability.
Yep.
Love second go 2,000 metres in a prep. I think they really just, when you get first go 2,000, probably coming from 1,600, they just lack that last bit, probably in the last 200, and they lack a little bit. Then it really just hits them on the button, I think, second go 2,000 metres. So I really want to be with this horse. The map's a little bit tricky, but I reckon they'll ride a little bit mid forward, try and take away that negative disadvantage from that gate. So I want to be with Red Zone. Boga Legend's, I think, the only danger in the race. Now, Boga Legend, I think 2 or 3 starts ago, towed this horse up at Pakenham. But they were just in different parts of their prep. Boga Legend obviously had no luck last start at Flemington. I think a lot of video watchers will be like, nah, Boga Legend's the one here. Like, it had no luck, hand up. And then the thing was, go back and watch that video. Once it did get out, it just didn't attack the line. I don't know whether it's come to the end of the prep or whether 2,000 metres might not be its go. That's why I just think the market comes for Rezone. I want to be with Rezone. A race I usually wouldn't play in, but I'm really happy to play in this one.
Interesting as well, the favourite, when there hasn't been a lot of horses backed or shortened in early markets, I often think the favourite's probably going to at least hold its spot. If the favourite goes up way too short, they're backing other things.
Yeah, 100%.
It's holding its spot, so interesting there.
And they haven't really come, if you think about it, like, this is why it's got such a long tail. Usually you got those horses at $13, $15, $17, they go, well, the favourite's not much good. They'll come into single figures.
Yep.
There just hasn't been any of that because they just don't actually have any numbers behind them to back it up.
Yep, right, I'll keep an eye on Rezone in race 4. Race 7 is the next race we're going to have a look at, second to the 3. This is a more open race. Major Share's your favourite, sort of 3-1 quote. You've got a few horses in that sort of each way odds. Marble 9, Oak Hill, Get Along, Rewards and more. What do you think of this?
I think the favourite, who's 3 from 3, Major Share, who's been really impressive, just really worried about it here. and I reckon it's going to be a big hole. I think it's whatever price it is now, I think it's going to continue to drift. So starting point, if you like that horse, I'd be waiting to the death to be backing it. Horse I really want to back is the toppy here, Get Along, who was first up, went to Caulfield this track. This is the race that Fleetwood I spoke about, over 1,000 metres, missed the start as a short price favourite and ended up finishing third. But it was a really high rating race. They went fast. Whistlefield wins the race. They go really quick. This horse I thought was really good, forward on. The danger here is possibly this horse at 1,100 metres. It seems its best efforts are at 1,000, but Caulfield I just think can be a little bit gentle, that 1,100 metres, only really the one turn. You can sit wide, no disadvantage. I just think $9 or even close to double figures is just way too big. I think it's going to be really well backed to Get Along. So I'm happy to be with Get Along, and I just want the punters to be aware of number 17, Rewards and More, if it gets in the race. And it might not, because there's two factors there. It needs one to pull out, but the other factor is I think it's a pure dry tracker.
Yep.
So just wait for it, because it's a horse with plenty of ability. Did a really big number to win its maiden, and it's only lightly raced, and I love that it's down in the weights. This kind of race sets up really well. So if Rewards and More gets in the race, I think it'll be really well backed too, but just wait for it. If it doesn't run, it's one we can back in the next couple of weeks as well.
All right, Get Along each way odds. Is it going to go forward from that game?
Yeah, 100%, yeah,
Okay.
and which I love at Caulfield. To be honest, Caulfield drawing 1, 2, 3 worries me from the shoot, because you can just get that outside pressure and all of a sudden you're going a little bit faster than you want to be. You can just take your own steam, no issue being wide, Caulfield shoot.
Okay, very good. Race 9's the last of the three to preview here. A couple duking it out for favouritism, Rheinberg and also Chawton Lane. Behind them you've got St Lawrence, and then you've got a gap to Lafargue and Blazer Trail, double figures for the rest of them. Have you separated one or two here?
Yeah, I'm really keen on this race, and the top three you spoke about, Chawton Lane, Rheinberg and St Lawrence, all come out of the same race last start. Just didn't rate hugely, but they're three horses that have got big booms on them, and they've actually got plenty of potential and ability. Chawton Lane started, I think, about a $2.80 favourite. Rheinberg was $4.80, and St Lawrence drifted out to about $9. So all that sort of changes now, from Rheinberg obviously winning the race and Chawton Lane really failing on the soft. Probably going to be soft again. I'm wanting a different form line. I'm not trusting that form line, which I think the market probably will. Lafargue's the horse that I'm really keen on down in the weights here. So under the minimum, we spoke about it on the SA set. You said under the min with Tatum Bull. Third up's the key here. So it comes out of a really good race behind La Ferrari last start, which I love. So better race coming out of than the Rheinberg Chawton Lane race. Bang, that's a tick. Second part is third up, twice before it's been able to win. It just seems to peak. So we speak about horses that just have certain, performance indicators. This is one for Lafargue. Down in the weights, I just think it's a bet for nothing. I think it'll be absolutely off the map at the death. And the other horse I want to have something very small on, again, wet track edge, off the 7 days of Stero. Just was way out the back over 1,200 metres at Flemington last week. Just was never in the race. Massive jockey plus.
Shin.
Blake Shin goes on. He just knows where to put them in this kind of, winter. He's got panels on these. So I think at a big price I'd have something on Stero, but Lafargue is the main bet.
Right, there's three we've looked at. I reckon you've slipped in a fourth for your set.
Yeah, I have.
As well. You've got one more in an early race.
Yeah, people will be able to see that in race 2, Rogue Rocker, again, have something each way on this horse. Third up, it's ready to rock and roll. I've got a massive opinion of this horse. Maybe needs a little bit drier, but at that price, I can't let it go around nude. Yeah, absolutely. And those other ones we spoke about, Rezone, obviously in race 7, Get Along, and if Rewards and More gets a run. And then we get to the last where I'm really keen Lafargue, but have something on Stero, because the quick 7-day backup with B Shin on, it's going to be right in the race. All right, it's now time for, it's everyone's favourite, snap or don't snap, or no snap.
It's the best graphic, and you got it right, which is amazing.
All right, you're starting. So you've got a couple here. What are we doing?
I've got a snap and a don't snap.
Yep.
The first snap, I think in race number 2 at Murray Bridge on Saturday, there's a horse called Mesraw. It's only had the 3 starts. It's obviously lightly raced, as most of these 2-year-olds are. I think it's a better horse, ridden with a bit of cover. They went forward last start, SP'd off the map. It was very short, went around $1.95, $2.50 into $1.95 in the last sort of 20 minutes of betting. It was beaten by Cernal on the day that went around 126. So fair bit of SP difference there. I just think if they can grab hold of it and sit in behind, it'll be very hard to beat.
Yep.
But I think the market might half pick up on that.
Okay.
I think it's currently sort of 330, 340 around the traps. I think it's a good chance it starts with a 2 in front of it.
Yep.
We know that these horses that have, on debut, they watch the jump out or a trial and they like it and there's a bit of specking for it early. They tend to blow out late and the market sits with those horses with race experience. Measureall's got that. It's had the 3 runs. It's as experienced as any horse in the race. And I think it might be one that shortens up in race number 2.
That's in race 2, and you've got one that you think might be on the blows.
Yeah, I mentioned it in one of the other segments, race number 4. I do like Together Forever in the race. All the Bent is the one I think's nice and short. I think this drifts into that $3 quote for sure. First start for the new stable, Melody Cunningham last start. They claimed off it on the synthetic, carried 56. Goes back to a yielding turf track with 61, with a lot of horses carrying a lighter weight around it. I just think you can definitely win. Like its figures before that with Chris Lees were good.
Yep.
But are you getting value at the 290 or will you be kicking yourself at the start of the race? I think it's more likely to drift.
Yep. All right. Very good. Go to Caulfield. I start with a don't snap and tar and feather me here. So Miss Rimbini is the horse that I'm thinking is going to drift, sort of around 280, 290 at the moment. Now its last 2 starts, it's won. And it's been off the map both times. So you're going, well, how could possibly the market be against it? But 55 kilos and 56 kilos in those 2 wins, goes to 60 kilos now. And the other key factor, again, weight's not everything, especially in these kinds of races where you can just have panels on the rest of them. Key factor is the map. It's drawn gate 8, and there's only 8 in it. So I think it probably has to go back now. If the first 100 metres, this horse ends up sitting outside leader, or the COT change of tactics comes through, this horse will probably firm right up because it obviously changes that dimension in terms of what I think is probably going to be a low percentage play for it going back. So I just think from a map perspective and weight perspective, also the other horse in the race, Enna's Dream, is a real soft tracker, draws well and gets plus jock D lane. I think the market really trends towards it. And I think Miss Rimbini starts a bit bigger. Not saying can't win. I just think if you like Miss Rimbini, I'd be waiting. I reckon you'll get a better price come the jump. And a horse that we've spoken about earlier in the Vic set, Get Along in race 7, get around $9.50, $9, even $8.50. I've marked this horse around $5.50. Get Along, I think it starts much shorter. I think the market has to go gravitate towards it. So it's the one I'll be snapping. All right, let's get to Pin the Tail. Now, for those that don't know Pin the Tail, what we're trying to do here, Pin the Tail on the Fox, is get as close as we can to the starting price when these horses bounce out of the barrier of a particular horse. You've chosen the horse this week. We'll obviously go SA 1 week, Victoria 1 week. So you get the first crack at it. Where do we go?
I think this is an interesting horse. It's race number 9, which is the best race on the card at Murray Bridge on Saturday. It's a horse called Riche de Moore. It's had the 1 start, 1 win, which again, I think it adds a layer of intrigue to what the market's going to do with it. Now, it was off the map when it won, and it rated incredibly well. I know your figures suggest that as well. So it couldn't have been more impressive. Just its second start in the race, what's the market going to do? A couple of things about the horse. I think drawn out wide's not going to be a problem. I think it can go forward. I don't think it has to lead, but it'll certainly be in the first 2 or 3. So there's a couple of positives. I guess the knock for me is the fact that it was so brilliant on debut. You worry how much it was pushed into that and how much it had left in the tank. It had trialled a few times, had some sort of gaps between trials as well, up to sort of 12 months between trials. So there's a little bit of the unknown about it. I think it's fascinating to look at. I've landed on $4.60 as the SP, which is probably a roll longer than what it is at present. So I don't think it's going to be off the map, but I don't think it'll drift either. I think the market will be a little bit like I am, cautious and keen to see what it can do. So $4.60 for me.
All right.
What about you?
Well, so playing right in your wheelhouse here. So this is not my go. But so I had to go back and think, how's the market going to treat this horse? So you're right, starts really short, $2.80, $2.90 on debut. Then I looked at, okay, what's second, third, fourth done in that race from a market perspective? Forget about the results, just see what the market's doing. So I'm going back to some tricks that I think maybe, so Halliwell runs second, it then starts 270 at its next start, doesn't win, but again, I'm saying that it's irrelevant. Third horse was Grint, it starts $5, I think, in the same race. So again, solid. And the 7th horse, which is the one that really interests me, was Bonnie Impact. Started $61 in this race where it got beaten. Started $8 the next start. So I've got no doubt the market loves this race. So that's a positive thing for me. So I went, okay, I'm going to start with that. That's where I'm going to move towards. Then I look at the next sort of factor again, without drilling down into the race like you would have. I go, well, let's look at the jock and trainer stats and see if there's anything there that the market A would love or the market will really take a set against. Callum Murray, 5 from 40 in SA, 13%. Market expectations about 9%. So market's not going to spit him out, but market's not going to say, hey, I'm cheering for him.
Yep.
I'm going to charge in. And then the trainer is the really interesting one, Rosalind Day. So here's the factor here. 3 from 66 in SA at 5% versus market expectation 11%. And I go, we're in trouble here.
Yep.
But then the next part I looked at is, let's just focus on the Metro. And there's not that many runners. 1 from 9 going at 9%, and the market expectation is 9%. So it actually is a lot cuter and a lot sexier than what actually the whole SA figures are for that trainer.
Yep.
So in all that stuff, without actually doing how you would have done it, just trying to use some other tricks of the trade, $4 for me.
Okay, so you think it might shorten up a roll?
I think so.
It's not a huge gulf between them.
No, there's not. So in essence, if it's, I'll give you $4.40. So it's $4.40 plus you get the can.
Yep.
Anything under $4.30, it's me. Yep. Starts with a 3 in front, you owe me 2.
Yeah, sounds like a good deal.
See ya. Actual play of the day, the one we're really keen on, JJ. I'm going to start race 4 at Caulfield Rezone. It's a race I usually wouldn't play into. I think there's only 2 winning chances, and Boga Legends, who was actually knocked off Rezone a couple of starts ago. But I think at 2,000 metres, second go 2,000 metres for the prep for Rezone, sets up really well. I'm happy to be with the favourite, so I'm going with Rezone for me for my play of the day.
Mine's a bit shorter, which is not ideal, but the market's liking it, which is not a bad thing. Race 6, horse number 4, Favourite Child. This is a mare in form, won her last 3. She's on the 7-day backup.
Yep, love it.
Running really strong sectionals late on fast tempos from the front. It's rare that you see that. Just think it's racing too well. Second pick in the market's going to carry 61. There's a fair bit of weight between them. I think it'll go forward, sell in the first 2 or 3. It'll be very hard to beat again. Rezone,
Favourite Child, plays the day. All right, new segment. Now, we've been through a lot of old segments. Here's a new segment that we've brought to the table here. Stupid as a fox. All right, well, what is happening here? So you've been away and this is the kit we sort of run with?
So to start with, I'm not sure what this segment was for, and I now realise it's to make fun of me.
Correct.
Which is fine. No, I've been in America for the last couple of weeks, and through the sort of Tennessee and Mississippi and those sort of places, Texas, and look, I've brought back some memorabilia.
How many hats did you bring back?
No, I've actually bought hats. I've got a few hats. I didn't buy any more.
That.
And they're hard to take around. You put them in the carry-on, someone shoves their bag on top and crushes it, and they're not cheap. So I didn't actually buy that hat. My brother bought that hat. But there's a little bit of cowboy paraphernalia, which I think I pull off. So
definitely. Horrific. The next one's just mind-boggling. So let's just get this up.
Beautiful. All right. Fire away.
Give me 60 seconds because I can't take any more than 60 seconds. Tell me, the story you told me about who it shot is the most fascinating part of it.
Look, we had a couple of hours to kill before the airport, so we went to a firing range, walked in, didn't know what to expect, didn't know how it worked. You need a licence. We've got a gun licence, so that was okay, but walked into how does this work? And before I said anything, the woman behind the counter said, "You must be here for fully automatic Friday." I said, "What?" He said, "Fully automatic Friday." I said, "What's that?" $30, any gun you want to shoot, fully automatic, you can get in the range and away you go. So it's about 20 machine guns to choose from, and she held up one, she goes, "This is the gun that shot Osama bin Laden."
Right.
And we thought, well, let's give that a go. So we went out the back and had an M16 and that, the 416, and had a few goes with that. It's quite unreal to feel the power in those things.
Did you feel like a man after you go crush some cans after it?
Yeah, I just smashed one on my head and then shotgunned it. It's quite amazing though. It's scary to fire them. They're very, very powerful things, and I wouldn't want to be doing it in any other scenario than a firing range.
All right, well that was interesting. Oh, also, the other part to that is, then you had to get on a plane straight away? A bit of residue on the hands?
Yeah, that's actually, they're obviously firing one after the other. There's a lot of residue in the air. And then we got to the airport, and there was a line, obviously, to go through the metal detector and whatever. There was one to the side with an explosives dog, and we looked at each other. We would have lit up like a Christmas tree. Luckily, there was a few different lanes. We got in the one that just had a drug sniffer dog, not the explosive dog, but it could have been very ugly, trying to explain to them why our readings were off the charts. But, we got through it.
So you were detained because of the drugs, not the gun residue?
Correct, they got us on that.
Righto, run the closer.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.